get anything?
Yeah, but we don't do this.
All right, Mayor, it's 5:30. No,
Where's it back?
we don't have it. We don't have anything.
No.
No.
It was sent out to you all.
I never saw anything.
Lori sent it.
It was emailed to us.
Yeah, but we usually have it right here, too.
All right.
All right.
So, you want to adjourn it?
Can we get it, Chris?
We can put it off for 2 weeks if you
Okay.
want, and then we'll get the package together.
If that works for you, that's fine with me.
Do it
Okay.
next Monday night, take 5 minutes.
That's fine with me. We'll just all have it ahead of time. So do we just want to have a discussion of about what it's going to be about so everybody knows when they get it?
You have the email, right?
I think the email went out, it's the acceptance of the minutes, 24th meeting, the July 1st meeting, amend the bylaws to add the contract officer, at your request, section on the annual meeting, it's a technical thing, the auditor's report, bank statement, which we have $8,000, which is basically what we've had for a number of years. Very prudent, and accept the financial statements and other business.
Don't we usually just get the email and then come in and do the meeting?
No, it's usually here in front of us. The minutes and everything. It's all right here.
Who's responsible for that testing?
We thought
Well, Maurice is the one who asked for it to be on the
there was a
agenda.
turnover, you know.
I'm sorry?
There was a turnover apparently in the transition here. I mean, there's the information is getting out to you. It's just a matter of getting the documents published for the next meeting. We'll get that squared away and be at your next meeting. Just a little handoff.
Okay.
So
right.
was this agenda set out?
Yes.
Well, call the meeting to order and entertain a motion that we adjourn it till Monday night, which is September
Ninth.
at 5:30.
So moved.
Or excuse me, 6:59.
6:59. So moved.
Second.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved, seconded.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Agency stands adjourned.
Thank you. I'd like to call to order the Schenectady City Council Committee meeting for Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024. Our first committee is Public Safety. Mr. Williams.
Thank you. So I'd like to call to order the Public Safety Committee. We have one item on the agenda tonight, and that is to discuss amending City Code Chapter 182, which is noise. I know definitely for the duration of my council tenure, noise complaints have been, to me, on the rise. I know it's been a sensitive topic because trying to understand how we can correct this from a legislative matter, I think falls second to enforcement. And I know as the police department has made tangible investments in their technology, because we know that having officers respond to each and every one of these events, it takes sometimes a second consideration to higher priority calls. This is still nonetheless a very important issue for individuals of all ages, ethnicities, and it affects each of us, I think, the same. So trying to understand how we can put in place some more legislative supports. My points that I'm recommending is reviewing the penalties, potentially assessing if those need to be increased significantly, identifying if we need to adjust when sounds are deemed unreasonable throughout the city, and then also identifying whether we can potentially identify a proper way to have excessive music, i.e. having noise permits. And because what we're not saying, or what I'm not saying, is we don't want people to not have fun. I think it's understanding you can't have a concert hall in your backyard in an urban community. And I think we can all agree to that. So I think it's how do we best position the legislative background that supports people having fun in the proper context, while also supporting that quality of life that matters to all of our city residents. So I just wanted to put that out there. I asked that everyone take a moment to review that chapter if they haven't already. And I would like to either see if anyone entertains the continuation of this topic, or if anyone had any other additional insight into this issue. Ms. Patrick.
Yeah, I think it's an important topic for us to be considering. I think we get these kinds of complaints quite often from our residents. So I appreciate it coming to the table, and I do think we have to study it and, come up with some good solutions. But I would like to have a discussion.
Thank you. Any other comments or feedback?
Yeah, I
Mr. Mancini?
appreciate you bringing this. I know when we were out going from door to door, a lot of folks got this complaint. It was up there in the top 4 at least. And I'd like to hear from the police on how the enforcement efforts have been worked with working with Scott, and what we can do as a community to address the issue.
Any other questions or comments, Mr. Murphy?
Thank you. I'm glad that you're bringing this forward. We discussed this over and over. Long as I'm responsible, we talk about it. We receive complaint from residents. 4 things that we should look at is in terms of overall document areas permit, if we allow permit, and then we also need to look at 182-5, what is reasonable noise, and if we can able to define that more. And then also to touch on the penalty, and also the last one, 182-7. We need to broaden that to kind of to make citizens more comfortable to file a complaint, and after they have sworn to it. So we want to make sure that we look at those 4 things from my standpoint.
Mr. Toro?
Yes, so thank you, because this is very important. And at 1 o'clock, if you watch my Ring doorbell, you'll see a Councilwoman Toro walking across the street in her nightgown, banging on the car across, and they couldn't even hear me, that's how loud the music was. Of course, my daughter's screaming, not get back in the house, but, so it's all over, every year. I just don't understand a permit, what you're kind of suggesting there.
So I think similar to like a block parties, if you may, Miss Mike, you correct me if I'm wrong. I think there's a proper way that we can put in place certain protections or considerations for neighbors. I think for me as a neighbor, I would be more understanding if someone knocked on my door and said, hey, between the hours of 9 and 12, it's my 30th birthday party and we might have a little bit more fun. I think it's different than day in and day out until 3 in the morning. So I think it's understanding, hey, we do want you to enjoy yourselves, absolutely. However, your enjoyment should not come at the expense of others. And for me, I can say having 2 younger children, they're in bed by 7:30. And if there is something that is a decibel too high and they wake up, I'm not the nicest person. And then if I go over to that house and maybe have some choice words, then I'm in the wrong. And that's someone who feels comfortable having that type of conversation. There's a lot of residents in our city that are afraid of not only retribution, but also continuous harassment as being identified as someone that's not fun. So I think as a city, we need to make sure we put in place the proper protections so that they don't feel they have to do that. Because we do have an enforcement body who's there to best protect their interests. But I think it's important to just have a clear language. So I think telling someone they can't have fun, that's not what I'm saying at all. It's just, hey, if you're having music, just be considered to put in place certain steps. And then is there a way we can just identify a fee to it? So I think just bring more revenue into the city.
That was my next question. Are you putting a fee to a permit?
Of course.
Well, but I guess my whole thing is, it's still, just say 8 to midnight, or just say 8 in the evening till 9 at night. Just that 1 hour drives a resident insane with the boom, boom, boom. So enforcement is huge, as we know. It's difficult when noise complaint is a little lower on the list of higher priorities in the city. So I guess the discussion and really what we can do would be appropriate.
And then I want to get to you, Mr. Rivera. I would love to hear from the law office. I think there are 3 different components. There's the code, there is enforcement, and then there's the legal background of how we serve these tickets. So I think enforcement, we've made considerable investments in like the drone program. So drone as first responders, that's something I'm very excited for. I don't know if the police department is there yet with having a drone be able to respond to these types of lower level offenses, but considerably, if you can have just a drone identify, hey, the sound is there, it's at this address. I think as long as we have I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I do think we have other responses other than actual officers responding in person. Mr. McGarren?
Yeah, in regards to the permit, it's more of helping with the enforcement. Because you have a permit on file, there are lots of contact information, phone numbers. So if the police department will somehow are backed up, they can make a call to the permit holder and kind of remind them that they have a permit within certain time, and if they're over the permit, they should turn the music off or turn it on. If it's music or if it's other noise, they need to contain it within their parameters. It is more control to help with the police department in making sure that these things are addressed. And most of the time they're not there, they're busy doing other stuff, more serious business. And these things just fall through the cracks. And people are complaining that, I call the police and the police are not showing. But there are a lot of things that they're doing that is factoring into that they're not showing up. But having the drone as one of the options for the first responder, having the permit in place, specify the contact person, the name and address. They can eventually know that on that street this person pulled the permit and we need to contact that person.
Absolutely. Any other questions or comments, Ms. Porterfield?
So I think we covered a lot about the noise at parties and gatherings, et cetera. But one of the other concerns and complaints that I hear, and I don't know how we address this, is about these modified mufflers on cars now. So that is a concern that I've been hearing from people. Somebody actually stopped by my house. I was outside, so it was okay, and said like, hey, I got to talk to you about this. And that was their concern, because they were like, well, you don't want me to go down there, and of course we don't. So I don't know how we address that particular thing, or even if it's allowed, but I think it's something we should consider as well. Not just the loudness of the muffler, but also some of the music from the cars is louder than the parties.
If I may, it's one of the reasons why I asked, let's look at the standard for unreasonable noise, and those were the two things coming from car, the muffler and the modified speakers.
Yeah.
Ms. Patrick?
I think it piggybacks with some of the other things we've talked about as well, in terms of even the speeding issue and the traffic issue. The noise kind of goes hand in hand. So, I think there's a lot of aspects for us to discuss, and I think that, I don't know if you were planning on, would a next step be, obviously we have to have the next step be like bringing together, folks from the police, folks from legal, folks from codes, but really being able to look at everything that we need to consider. I just think it is something to pursue.
Mr. Mayor, is that a reasonable ask to see if the police can have a representative next council meeting?
Absolutely, and again, we've deployed environmental sensors, which also have acoustic sensors on it. The reason to stay away from ShotSpotter, which was one of the companies that pioneered managing gunshot detection. They've had some problems with their actual follow-up. They only worked on gunshots, where there are other sounds that could be car crashes, just general ambient noise. And so we do have some of the ability to triangulate these locations, and again, it becomes a decision of council, it's in the code now, of the level of sound and then doing enforcement. And as you all well know, that again, the number of calls that come in sometimes exceed our ability to respond to it. Let's use the example of the 4th of July, give or take a day. It's not music sounds. It could be part of it. There are people who are having parties or other get-togethers, but just the fireworks, it challenges the resources. And as Mr. Williams has pointed out, I want people to have a good time, enjoy it, but how to do it in a manner where it doesn't have an adverse impact on the neighbors or the community as a whole. So, yes, the police department, but there's other options out there too that we can use to bring in that we haven't deployed.
Thanks, Mayor. Definitely want to offer the opportunity for the law department to respond, but I'd say if you save your comments for the next council meeting, that'd be really appreciated. Just context on the issue. But if there are no other questions or comments, I'm just asked to bring this back in 2 weeks and everyone just have a chance to highlight some areas, and then I think definitely making sure we put the proper context on evaluating this entire chapter. If we are looking at amending it, just understanding the timeline with bringing it to public hearings. If there are no other comments or issues to look forward for public safety, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So,
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
thank you. I'd like to call the Finance Committee to order, and the first item is just a reminder for a public hearing to collect feedback from the city resident on our CDBG/CV funding to prevent, prepare for, and respond to coronavirus project. This public hearing is scheduled for September the 9th, 7 p.m., room 209. The next item is calling for a public hearing on the 2025 budget. Mr. Derrick.
Good evening. As the City Council is aware, the Finance team is currently working on a 2025 proposed budget. It is respectfully recommended that this call for a public hearing on the 2025 budget be approved and that such hearing be scheduled on October 15th, 2024.
Any questions? Come in. Go ahead,
I
please.
just want to make sure that October 15th gives us enough time to gather that feedback and, be able to make our decisions by the end of October. So is that when we usually have it?
Yes.
Okay.
That's typical.
Thank you.
And then I believe Councilman Moore will schedule
Yes.
department meetings.
I'm going to do it a little early this year, and this week I'm going to send out an email asking for your availability, and I would ask that you please make yourself available for us to meet almost every day if possible, so that we can get this over with and it does not drag on like last year. And I expect members to make commitment to me. That is our responsibility. So I'm not going to take a lot of no's this year. Any other comments?
So, just to be clear, you're asking for the public hearing on October 15th?
That is correct. Any other comments? If not, I have a motion to move this forward.
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Any other business for finance? May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to call to order City Development and Planning. We have 9 items on the agenda. The first item is for the ceremonial resolution recognizing Dr. Steady Mono, who is the president of SUNY Schenectady. Dr. Mono has been there since 2015 and has really done a lot of good work there and added a lot of programs to that. I know usually we kind of wait till milestones, which would be next year. However, there's no rule that says we have to wait till the 10th anniversary. So just wanted to be able to offer him a ceremonial resolution for the work that he's done at their community college.
I'll move this.
I'll second it.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And I will also take this one for Mr. Farley, who could not be here tonight. There's a young man named Robert Dobbs. I don't know if everybody, okay, I see the head shaking, who's done a lot of work with the young people, especially and also in that park in Bellevue. So he's just done a lot of work. And so Mr. Farley wanted to be able to recognize this young man for the contributions that he's made to this community. Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the discussion for the ceremonial naming of a city street. Mr. Mutavaran.
Thank you, Madam President. At the last committee meeting, before you was the draft resolution, and then at the last committee, the council meeting, a petition was presented to us by the Marlene Hill relatives, asking us to consider honoring Marlene Hill legacy for her work that she has done in the city of Schenectady. And we're here discussing this in terms of either us passing a resolution to ceremonially name a section, a portion of Barrett Street, formerly Barrett Street, between South Avenue and Curran Street, Marlin Hill Way. And before us is the draft petition, and you see that last cycle, and a petition with over 600 signatures. Madam President, before we go into discussion, can I
Yes.
ask the law department to kind of guide us, and if we were to move forward with this, what do we need?
Certainly, go ahead.
The way it looks is, I've looked at the signatures, and there's enough to go forward with the public hearing for next week. The ordinance calls for a public hearing, and that then after you have the public hearing, then you have the resolution, for the ceremonial resolution. And the ordinance is pretty specific as to the process you all have to go through for a ceremonial resolution, the signatures where they're from. So it's specific as to that. I was looking at the ability of just doing a resolution as opposed to going through the full processes set forth in the ordinance, and you can't do it. I was looking at that, just doing a resolution. So however, there's enough signatures for my recommendation for you to go forward with the public hearing as required by the ordinance. And then the law department, in conjunction with the city clerk's office, will continue to go through those signatures. And certainly any more signatures are always welcome. And that we will then have a report back to you in 2 weeks regarding the resolution. So there's enough to go forward for calling for a public hearing regarding the ceremonial naming of that portion of Barrett Street.
So, Mr. Mudavarian, would you like to call for a public hearing?
Yes, if
Okay.
that's what the recommendation from the law department is, I
Okay.
will object to that. So,
And with that, I'll entertain a motion to call for a public hearing.
I'll move it.
when is this going to be? Just for the
We're going to call for it this, and then it'll be on the 23rd.
23rd?
Yeah. So the call for it will be next week.
Yes.
And then the next following council meeting. Yeah.
Yes, the 23rd.
Yes,
September 23rd.
yes.
Yes.
Right.
Do
So
I need to, do you want me to say that I'll call for a public hearing?
I'm asking for a motion to call for a public hearing.
Yes. Did you second?
I-
You second it? You moved
I'll-
already, I second it.
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
We're calling for a public hearing. Thank you
I
very
don't wanna
much.
take it away from you.
No, that's fine. Just didn't know if we had to add the date into the...
Yes, September 23rd.
So the following, I just want to be clear, Mr. Brown, this number 4, the amending that resolution, does that need to also be in executive session?
No,
Okay.
it can be,
I'm sorry?
it doesn't have to be executive.
So just revising a number? Okay. In that case, item number 4, amending the resolution 2023-005 to revise the parcel number on Hildebrand Avenue.
Thank you. Resolution 2017-261 originally authorized the sale of 1156 Hildebrand Avenue to Govindranath Lockman for the amount of $20,000. At that time, 1156 Hildebrand Avenue was identified as SBL number 49.34-2-8. Since then, the resolution was amended to the incorrect parcel number. So the correct parcel number now would be 49.34-2-8.11.
Okay. So I need a motion to change, because we're revising the SBL
So moved.
to the correct one.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. And the remaining items, number 5 through 9, are going to be an executive session. And at this time, entertain a motion to go into executive session. Excuse me, I'd like to entertain a motion to recess city development planning.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're recessed.
I'd like to call to order the Claims Committee. We have 3 items on the agenda tonight. I just want to confirm with the Law Department bringing to one executive session to discuss those. So I will entertain a motion to enter executive session.
Claims.
Motion.
All right, I will second it. All those in favor? Aye. We are in executive session. Members of the public will now have to leave. That's what it feels like.